And we are live tonight. Yes. Have
Boy,
you?
that
Well,
was quite an opening right there.
would you like to see your co-host?
Would I like to see my what?
Your co-host?
My Comos?
No, no, your co-host,
Oh,
Joe Chaffee.
see, I'm doing like three different things here. We
Okay.
just
Well,
came
do
on.
you? Do
We
you?
just finally came on YouTube.
Oh, you did. So you there's Joe Chaffee.
Oh, I saw that picture. That's 1945, and that's your grandpa.
That is my grandfather, Joe Chaffee.
Yes,
Believe it or not. And
I see around the eyes.
he died actually in 1946 at the age of 73.
Hmm.
Okay, and he had 15 children, and my father was the oldest of the second set. He had 8 children with his first wife, wore her out. She just passed away,
Ah,
and then he married my grandmother, who was the governess of his first 8 children,
okay.
and then she had, I think, 6 or 7 of her own.
Huh,
Um,
huh.
we sort of lost count. So when he wasn't busy behaving like a rabbit,
Huh.
um, my grandfather was. This is I this almost sounds like. Do you remember Sophia from the Golden Girls
Yes, I
when
do.
she would tell her stories about back in Sicily? Well, this
Right.
wasn't in Sicily, but this was in Salerno. Well, this is kind of a story that sounds like one of the stories she would tell. My grandfather was a lawyer, okay? My great grandfather, his father, was a judge, okay? Now, my grandfather was a lawyer. He tried one case, okay? In his entire law career, he tried one case, won it. He defended a salami maker on something.
Okay.
And then my grandfather decided he didn't want to do law and decided that he wanted to make salamis and grow lemons. And he had, he my family at the time owned a lot of buildings. We were magnates, real estate magnates. So
Right.
he just basically spent his whole life collecting rent and just being rich. And then the war came and took most of that away. But that is my grandfather.
That's
Okay,
quite amazing.
on my father's side.
I love the handlebar mustache,
Yeah, isn't that cool?
and you really around the eyes, Joe. It really does look. You have his
Well,
eyes.
all right. So hang on one second because I'm here. It's not like I'm not here. I'm here. Okay. So I'll put the pictures upside. That's now I do look like some people say they can't see the resemblance. I don't know how you can't see the resemblance.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I take my glasses off, and it, he's got a handlebar. I got a goatee, but I definitely, I see my father in him. And then when I have pictures of me and my father, you can see the resemblance there. So that was Grandpa Joe Chaffee.
There you go.
Okay, now the other thing I have is so we're getting to the point now where I'm going to leave him. You know what? He wants to watch the show tonight, so I think I'm going to leave him up on the corner. Hang on a second. At least for the time being. So, oh no, I can't because I got to bring up my dinner. So tonight, for dinner, uh, I made roast turkey thighs. Okay,
Okay.
and here's what they look like in the prep. All right, so roast turkey thighs. For those, this is very easy. Let me just advise, especially the guys in the group, okay? Because ladies, if you're watching this, you're going to hear my recipe, and your first impulse is to say, I'll make that," and then you're going to change everything I say because that's what women do when you give them recipes. But guys, I'm just going to tell you right now, if you don't know how to cook, cooking is so easy. And really, if you have the following things, if you have um, granulated garlic, paprika, a bottle of olive oil, and some butter. I happen to have some Kerry butter on there, but and some butter. If you've got those things, you can really make just about everything, and whatever you make will come out tasting delicious. Now, this was tonight. It was turkey thighs. I took the skin off. I seasoned them very generously. Oh, and I forgot the other thing you need is coarse kosher salt. So I did that. Skin them, pull the skin off, season them generously, put some coarse kosher salt on, put 4 dabs of butter into the oven at 400 degrees, and when they are done, they look like this. Well, this is what the plate looks like. So I serve them. Uh, they're covering you, Joe, for the moment.
I
Okay, so
understand.
it's I sautéed some string beans with a little granulated garlic in some butter for about 10 minutes on a very low flame. Sprinkled a little parm cheese on it. There's your turkey thigh, which is very filling. It's a very turkey thighs are not they're big. They're like 2 large chicken thighs put together. So you will be easily satisfied. So if you need help with this, um, I will be more than happy to help you out. And I guess in the spirit of what we're going through, Joe, and we'll continue to go through for at least the next several weeks, um, I figured why not? Might as well just put my meal up uh, and give folks an idea on what to make for dinner if they start running out of if they start running out of ideas and get tired of uh, of eating the same turkey sandwich or ham sandwich or whatever it is.
Olive loaf.
I'm not a fan of olive loaf. By the way, this coffee with Chaffee mug was given to me by the chairman, Scott Briller, and I am actually enjoying some coffee in it right now. So, with Grandpa watching tonight, um,
Be funny if the
not
two
much.
eyes started to move.
What's that?
Be funny like in the Warner Brothers cartoon if the eyes started to move around.
Now that you mentioned it, when I'm looking at it right now on the computer screen and looking at his eyes, they kind of sort of do look like they're moving.
Yeah. I'm sure you could do all sorts of stuff with Photoshop, but
Oh
I'm
yeah.
yeah.
Besides, if it was anybody going to come back, it would have been my grandmother, and she has. From time to time, she pops in. You know. So anyhow,
You should get your first. Then what you actually had was a grandmother and a step grandmother, right?
no, I never knew his first wife died in like 1927.
But still, that's
Then he married my grandmother.
right.
Okay, and then my grandma, after he died in 1946, after the war, my grandmother shacked up with some soldier, and she came over here to the United States, and then gradually she brought her children came over,
Right.
including my father. My father didn't come here until 1954
Okay.
on his first trip. Then he went back to Italy, got married, and then my mother didn't come here until 1958. It's a very very sordid story. There's a
There you go.
lot of sordid stories with in those days in South. They weren't the innocents they proclaimed to be. Okay, uh,
Right.
they operated more along the lines of a Kardashian
You
clan.
know, I'm beginning to think that if hopefully somebody out there, maybe a broadcast executive or whatever, maybe somebody with HBO or one of the three major networks or whatever, I'm foreseeing already taking over where the Sopranos left off, the Chiaffis.
Hmm. No, well, there were but no one in my family was involved in organized crime. Okay,
Yeah,
the only thing you could if the only thing would be remotely close to organized crime would have been if somebody came home with a jar of ragu from the supermarket, but
yeah.
that would be it. All right. Uh, by the
Or
way,
or
Frank
Ray spaghetti sauce.
Frank Riccio said he saw somebody at Shoprite with a whole cart of frozen dinners. I'm sorry, but you know what? No, that's just wrong. Okay, that person will probably die young, or if he's not young, he won't be living for much longer. It's not. You're home. You got to cook. It doesn't take much to cook something. It's very easy.
You
Okay.
remember you remember what they used to say? It's the next best thing to your home cooking, Joe. Swanson makes it good.
Uh, well, certainly loaded with sodium to drive up your blood pressure.
Yeah,
Anyway, weather-wise, there's we've got this major ocean storm that's going to develop, but it's going to be out in the middle of the ocean, and it's going to have some impact here in the Mid Atlantic and the Northeast because we're going to be socked in with clouds and maybe at some point you get an arm of showers that comes in from the east. But other than that, I mean, there isn't a whole lot happening. We've got some severe weather in the south, moving off the southeast coast and in North Florida this evening. We'll take a look at that. But in terms of major storms around the country, it's the last day of March. Tomorrow's the first day of April. We've got this blocking pattern. March came in relatively quietly and is going out pretty relatively quietly.
Sheepishly.
Sheepishly, very good. Yes. And by the way, I broke out about 1 or 2 o'clock this afternoon here. I broke out in sunshine and went mostly sunny.
We broke out into some sunshine about the same time. It never really became mostly sunny. I'd say at best scattered to broken, and then we went back to broken to overcast, and that pretty much was it. But I am expecting, Joe, tonight. I do think that we're going to get into a clearing trend after midnight tonight, and tomorrow shouldn't be all that half bad. I'm thinking at least up here in the lower Hudson Valley, sunny to partly cloudy, or maybe sunshine to start, and then more clouds coming in later in the day.
Right, I put the East Coast tight satellite loop, and this was one of those instances when you get into a blocky pattern and lows go by to your south, that means higher pressures are going to be to your north. And there's a little cutout of dry air that skies cleared out across New England, and if you watch the loop, you actually can see the cloud line moving southwestward. As dry air from New England and upstate New York just kind of pushed on down. And to an extent, I do agree with you, Joe. It probably won't be half bad tomorrow if we can, you know, with a little luck and you keep this sort of dry push from the north and it moves, it holds on to where it is now or maybe seeps down a little bit further south. Most of the area may wind up being partly sunny or no worse than partly sunny.
Right, and it looks like I would say generally clear or fair skies tomorrow night, and then we'll, as you just mentioned, that big storm, that big ocean storm, will be spiraling round and round off to our east, and maybe we'll get into an arm of moisture translating into cloud cover late tomorrow, and maybe a bit of rain or shower activity tomorrow night into the early part of Friday, as that thing kind of whirls around and comes back like a spoke of moisture over us tomorrow night and into early Friday.
Uh,
Tomorrow, not tomorrow night, but Thursday night into early Friday.
Correct. All right, so let's start off. I want to bring up the radar right now. I've got the regional radar, and this is out of the Weather Service, weather.gov, in Atlanta. Peachtree, Georgia, is where the Weather Service site that I'm using right now, and that's what the radar looks like. And the thunderstorms. There were tornado watches up earlier. We had also I saw quite a few tornado warnings that popped up late this morning and this afternoon. Now those storms, the stronger storms now have moved into northeast Florida. It looks like they're getting some storms up in St. Augustine and Jacksonville, off the South Carolina coast, and also seeing some heavy showers and maybe 1 or 2 thunderstorms on up along the North Carolina coast as this low begins to move to the east. And here's the Storm Prediction Center. The remaining slight risk area is pretty much, we're seeing this in real time with slight risk up into South Carolina, Georgia, north the Florida Panhandle to the East Coast. You can probably just shift that a little bit further to the east as the line has progressed somewhat. For tomorrow, there's very little activity going on in terms of thunderstorms. A couple of small areas, one in the plains, another one up in Oregon and into parts of Washington and Idaho. And then on day 3, we have a small area of general thunderstorms from Texas northward up into Iowa. But no severe weather is indicated over the next 3 days. And I didn't see anything in their day 4 to 8 outlook that warranted any mention. So everything just seems to be rolling along in relatively quiet fashion overall.
Yes, it does not look like we're going to be into any really stormy conditions. I mean, we're missing out here. We're dodging a bullet. Of course, if this thing that we're watching right now were to be maybe a couple of hundred miles closer to the coast, we might actually have something to talk about. But I do think that on Thursday, Joe, we're going to be looking at a rather windy day. I can see winds on Thursday locally from the northwest gusting to over 30 miles an hour. I don't think quite strong enough for them being the National Weather Service, to issue a wind advisory or any kind of a wind warning or watch, but it certainly is going to be rather gusty out there on Thursday, along with the fact that we'll have, again, some sunshine to start and maybe more clouds coming in later in the day as a spoke of moisture comes spiraling around that offshore system and brushes us Thursday night, Friday with maybe a touch of a little bit of rain.
We do have a little bit of winter weather tonight across northern Montana and northwestern North Dakota with a slew of winter weather advisories and a few winter storm warnings that extend down into western Wyoming. Some winter storm watches in northeastern Wyoming into western South Dakota. And we've got a few winter weather advisories up for parts of Oregon and Washington. Looks like one county in northeastern Oregon is under a winter storm warning. Otherwise, weather is just pretty much on the quiet side. If you look in the southeast, uh, off the Florida coast, a few special marine warnings, and I think that might be what's left of the tornado watch from earlier, a very small sliver in northern Florida. But with the storms moving through, that should be gone momentarily. Always, folks, when you're watching, especially during severe weather season, please remember that what you're seeing is dated at 7:17 Eastern time right now. So you want to make sure you have the latest from the Weather Service as far as watches and warnings that are up. So you want to go to weather.gov to your local National Weather Service forecast office. Here's the full U.S. loop. And of course, you start to see toward the end the energy and the cloud cover that's moving off the East Coast, and that's going to turn into a major storm. Joe, would probably tomorrow and Thursday, and probably even on Friday on this view, this low is going to intensify down to about a 970 low. It's going to have a pretty good looking signature on the satellite. I think we're going to have a very dramatic dramatic view to look at over the next couple of days with this storm that's developing.
And quite possibly we'll even see an eye. Um,
Yeah, it could be.
and
Could be.
pretty wound up system. It'll probably be well tomorrow. We'll probably begin to see the classic comma signature, and then we'll just see Thursday and perhaps Friday just an all-out big, tightly wound spiral of clouds over the Atlantic. And yeah, when they get down as low as 970 millibars, we're talking about the equivalent of a Category 2 hurricane, something like a 28.6 inch barometric pressure reading. So
Hmm.
it is going to be a very potent system, a fish storm, if you will,
Yeah.
for uh, those little creatures a couple hundred miles east of here,
Now,
but not really all that much for us except for a gusty day on Thursday.
now here's something you don't see too often, but when you do see it, it's usually in the spring. So if you look at the radar right now, you've got the I have it centered on the Mid-Atlantic states, and we've got rain in all of Virginia, West Virginia, and it looks like the northern edge of that rain is just about getting just south of Washington D.C. That's all sliding to the east, but take a look up in northern Pennsylvania and across southern New York from the west side of the Catskills westward. There are all sorts of what look like popcorn showers that have developed. Those are moving east to west. So
But
those must be low top, and they're responding to the big high that's building up in Canada, and you're seeing this northeast flow from New England and New York State southward, pushing those popcorn showers to the west, and then you've got the system to the south of us moving as they would normally do, but this one's actually moving straight east. And we mentioned yesterday, and I'll show you on the teleconnections, folks, we have a very, very strong negative North Atlantic oscillation. This is higher than normal pressures up in the North Atlantic, lower than normal pressures in the Mid Atlantic, and that is creating the pattern that we're in, which is a chilly one. If this were a month ago, we probably would be sweating out snow or nothing at this point. But we didn't see this pattern at all during the wintertime. You'll notice that the NAO does rapidly go to the neutral line again around April 9th or 10th. So you might want to we're going to circle that date and keep an eye on it. And as far as whenever you see, usually when you have some, when you're off the wall negative and it goes toward the neutral line, usually at the point you get to that neutral line, there's a storm developing somewhere. And what this all again, for those of you who aren't familiar with this, I mean, we're looking at pressure changes over different geographic areas. The NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation, looks at the North Atlantic. The Pacific North America Index looks at various geographic areas over North America and out in the Pacific and in the tropical Pacific. And that is going off the wall negative over the next couple of days. I also think, Joe, we probably should look for maybe around the period, say, April 6th, 7th, and 8th, somewhere, with that PNA so negative. That's usually a signal for severe weather someplace in the traditional severe weather risk areas that are in the month of April: the Southern Plains, the Central Plains, the Mississippi Valley, and the East Pacific Oscillation negative. Briefly gets slightly positive around the 6th or 7th and then goes negative again. So that's telling us that colder air across Canada will be the dominating feature from west to east. And some of that cold air winds up bleeding down from time to time into the east coast of the United States.
Unfortunately, on our outlooks, which usually do not go much beyond 6 or 7 days, we're talking about, you're talking about the 6th, 7th, 8th. That's like 8, 9, 10 days out.
Yeah,
And as we have seen on so many occasions this particular season, it's not even winter anymore, either meteorologically or astronomically, that the models really did not do all that well once you went past 7 days. So even if there was something being indicated of some significance on, let's say, the 8 or 9 or 10 day prog, how much credence would you put into that, that that's actually going to happen when we actually get nearer, or actually when we get to those dates? Um, I really, it's
no,
very
I
more
know.
speculative than anything else.
Yeah, and I'm just just sort of putting it out there as a date to take to watch. How it specifically comes out, if it comes out, remains to be seen. But you could see the block in action pretty well here, folks. And this is our system that is going to be moving over the off the East Coast tonight. And the reason why it is moving off the East Coast, I'm just going to show you the draw in the upper flow, because there's an upper low that is sitting south of Nova Scotia, actually up into southern Canada. That's the bottom of an upper high that is building. So this short wave is actually getting injected underneath the flow with the low that's sitting south of Nova Scotia, creating a west to east or a northwest southeast flow from New York City southward. So that system, this one here, can't lift up. And it also doesn't help either that you've got energy coming into the west with another trough. So the upper air effectively for East Coast input here is just simply all wrong. And if you watch when I put it in motion, that short wave that's back off in Kentucky and Tennessee down into Mississippi, that gets shoved underneath us. Then it cuts off, and this is where you get the development, and it rotates in a counterclockwise fashion. You see it there on the edge of the frame of the map. It rotates around because with the higher than normal pressures out in the North Atlantic, these things want to slow down to a crawl. So you're going to have this big storm that's sitting out there in the Atlantic, and it's, as you said, Joe, it's pretty much a fish storm. The only thing we'll have to worry about here is how much cloud cover are we going to be dealing with over the next couple of days, and whether when we get this counterclockwise loop of the surface low, which is a 978 by Wednesday night and a 977 or 6, I can't even read it. By the time we get to Thursday morning, there's that arm that comes around from Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, pushes through New England into southern New England, and then continues to drop southward and weaken. Sometimes, though, the models don't handle that well, and you wind up seeing a bit more from the standpoint of rain. So you want to be a little bit careful. This would be for later Thursday into Friday morning.
Right, right. And again, the intensity is going to be a little tricky, but you can get a couple of surges of shower activity. Let's say Thursday night and on to early Friday. I'm not, I would rule out convection. I don't think we're going to see
Yeah,
any thundery
I don't
weather,
think so either.
but it's just going to be a matter of just how much precipitation we do get. But it is interesting how it just literally just backlashes or backwashes back up and around and over and back into our area, even though the main system is well out to sea Thursday night into early Friday morning.
Um, it'll should be some pretty good surf though with this. I might take a ride. Maybe I'll take a ride down to the beach come Thursday or Friday and see what the surf looks like. Meanwhile, out in the west, we've got this system in the northwest. We mentioned about the winter storm warnings that are and the winter weather advisories up in the northwest. That low runs up into North Dakota. Another one develops for Wednesday night into Thursday across Wyoming and South Dakota, and then runs eastward. I was cautiously optimistic for the weekend, Joe. This system that comes out of the northern plains Friday night into Saturday is coming into a ridge position in the east, so it looks to me like it's going to weaken. Maybe there'll be some clouds with it that survive, that come through here maybe Sunday morning sometime. But I'm going to take the chance that we're going to just wind up with a dry weekend.
I think so too. I'm putting more of an emphasis on sunshine for Saturday. Again, as I agree with you, maybe some clouds on Sunday, but also a dry day and generally a fair day as well. Yeah,
You all right?
I'm fine.
Yeah. After
Uh,
that, looking at next week, I got to see what the upper air looks like first. Let's roll back. Okay, hold on a second. Bringing that upper air here, by 162 hours. So let's just roll it back. You could see what the block looks like. If you look up here, folks, here's your upper high right in here. This actually started back on Saturday, building, and as we now are into Tuesday, and I roll it forward, you see that high not only strengthens, but starts to push its way back into eastern Canada, into Labrador. Everything across North America gets shoved underneath it and goes out to the south of of southern New England and the Mid Atlantic states, the northern Mid Atlantic states, and there's your storm, kind of rotates around out there. Uh, and then after that pulls out, the high pressure aloft in Canada begins to weaken, and going forward, you look at this, the flow becomes, the upper pattern becomes, a little more progressive. Although you do have another upper high, Joe, that builds up in Canada after day 10. Interestingly enough, it's not as strong as what we just saw, but there is a bit of an upper high up there. So now we're at to April 11th and 12th. It still looks like a pretty active pattern. It certainly does not look like a pattern that's warm. Okay, at least from what I can see. The odd warm day here and there, yes. Prolonged warm days, I don't think so.
Well, we're going to have temperatures, it looks like, early next week at what I would call seasonably mild levels. I'm saying for the lower Hudson Valley for Monday, 61, Tuesday of next week, 62. But the and Scott Briller also brought this up with me this morning that the experimental 3 and 4 week probability maps from Climate Prediction Center are stressing colder than normal temperatures for the mid and latter part of this month. So
Right.
next month, I should say. We're going into
We're
April,
moving ahead.
and it may very well be that we may have a protracted spell of unseasonably chilly weather after we get past, let's say, the early part of next week.
Uh, Timothy Veltman, I will post the pictures in Discord. And for those of you who would like to join the after show chat, we do have a place where you can go and continue your conversation, not just now, but all night long and all day long tomorrow until the next live stream. And that's on this channel that Timothy Veltman created on Discord, and you can see it here. The link is up there on the chat board. It's absolutely free, so by all means, join the party. And by the way, in the interim, where you have not been getting your notifications from YouTube, that is a YouTube issue. It's not my issue. So if you're on Discord or certainly if you're a Patreon member. But if you are on Discord, I've been putting the link to the live stream and the time up there, so you won't miss it. Okay, just letting you know. So please go ahead and join the join Discord. Yes, F Ledweather, screw the NAO. I agree. Too little, too late, not enough. Get rid of it. I want some warmer temperatures. We're getting all cooped up here with this social distancing and having to be basically confined to our homes with minimal. I had to go out today because I had to go to the paper bag store and pick up a few things. But yeah, what's the point of it now? I want to be able to go out and do my walk in the morning and have it be sunny and reasonable in terms of temperatures, and not this low cloud nonsense that I've been having to deal with.
Were the paper bags just the right consistency for filling them up with water and dropping them out of the window?
No, they weren't. Unfortunately, the paper bags that they have now, because they got rid of all the plastic bags here, so now
Right,
they have the paper bags. Now, of course,
right,
I was reading it. Some people were saying if we had the plastic bags, it would be better because um, because of the virus, they're cleaner to they're cleaner. I don't know. So they made them illegal just in time for all this to happen. But the brown bags that they had, they got the brown bags back like we had with kids. I don't know about you. My mother used to use the brown bags to cover my books for school.
right,
She would
right.
make book covers out of them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we made use of stuff. We didn't throw everything away like these youngins do today.
Right,
But they're thinner. They're not they're not thick like the bags that when we went to the store. So I mean
right.
I didn't need any brown bags today. I brought my own, but I've been when I've gone where I forget my bags, I get the brown bags. I double bag them, give them their 10 cents, and they're happy. But it is a throwback to our youth.
Yes. By the way, also another thing that Scott Briller mentioned, and I'm not sure, it seems that this may be permanent finally, but it seems that KW035 is back, the National Weather Service.
National Weather Service forecast office in Rockefeller Center in New York City.
You are you are an old time veteran of when they
Yeah.
were based at 30 Rock, but for whatever reason, I think there was some problem with the transmitter, or there was some interference going on with Coast Guard channels. But for the longest time, the biggest city in the United States and one of the biggest in the world did not have any weather radio capabilities, and they have been trying to fix this. And apparently, finally, with the transmitter now on the Empire State Building, they have rectified the problem. So if you have a weather radio and you push down on 162.55, according to what Scott said, I haven't had a chance to do it with my own radio, but you can finally get New York City National Weather Service forecast weather radio. Up until recently, where I live here in Putnam Valley, Joe, the only weather radio I was able to pick up was out of Albany. I was getting the Albany
Really?
service. Um, but apparently now they fixed KW035, so it is back.
Very good. Is it automated? Is the voice automated? Because I don't
Yes,
listen to it. It is automated. Okay.
I believe so.
All right. So speaking of Mr. Briller, we'll do our Briller Jeopardy here. Um, okay. So the question for
But
wait a
before
minute.
you get
This is
to
from a couple
the,
weeks ago. Go
and
on.
before you get to the question, we are losing so much by having an automated voice. Yes, the automated voice may be in many ways more perfect or whatever, but when you and I were growing up, Joan, we were listening to weather radio. There were a variety of dialects, a variety of different voices, forecasters who had different inflections, more nasal tones. Uh,
Yes.
and you could tell, you knew exactly who was doing it. You could tell it. Oh, it's Tom Morgan is on,
When
or
Tom Morgan was on in the middle of the night, you could tell the guy was like desperate for sleep.
and Abe Zwicker and
Yes,
and Tom Grant.
and
Tom Grant with that nasal voice,
yeah,
and you knew
landlords are advised to keep heat up under extreme conditions. Hey,
who was the
by
one
the
who.
way, Scott, if you're here listening to this, I know it's a little bit of a delay. Your message got wiped out for some reason. So if you could resend the the Jeopardy question, it would the Briller Jeopardy question.
Yes.
I would appreciate it. I don't know why that happens. I get the message. I got to find out why it only keeps. Uh, this is on my on Patreon. It only keeps the last 3 or 4 messages, and then it erases them, and it goes back to like a week ago. So it's not really helping me that it does that. Anyway,
Who,
I'm sorry. What were
who
we talking about?
you were the an intern at National Weather Service back in the 70s. Who was the forecaster who, whenever we had a snowstorm, he wouldn't say accumulations, he would say accumulations.
Was it Joe Salerno?
I I don't
I think it was the aviation forecast was Joe Salerno that used to say accumulations.
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 But they were all different, as I said, all different voices and dialects. Gunther Reese.
Right.
Um,
This is Noah. Weather radio.
that would not that would not go over
He
well.
would never do. This happened a couple of times where he had like a bad cold and he was working, so he had to record the tapes. So they used to record them on these carts, okay, that
Right,
looked like because they were cassettes basically.
right.
So you would record it, and he just would not do it over. If he made a mistake, he made a mistake. So if he was sick and he started, coughing up a lung in the middle of it, that's what you would hear on the radio on the playback. It's like, are you kidding me? Now, I mean, we ad lib it here, of course, but we're live. When something like that happens live, you can't help it. But when you're taping it, you should clean it up.
See what you're missing when you have the perfect automated voice. They had to program the automated voice to go cough, cough, cough.
Well, they should give you at least the option of having like how on GPSs, you can pick the voice you want. You could have the I have a male voice on mine, but they have I'm not driving. I'm sorry, I'm not driving with it. I better not say it. I'm just not going to say it. I'll probably offend a few people. But I always think like if I drove with the voice, it would be passive aggressive. Your passive aggressive GPS. If
I only
you're
remember
turning here, I would have gone straight.
I I only remember one female voice on KW035. Well, actually two. There was one who I went to college with. Her name was Roxanne Ginsburg.
Oh, I remember Roxanne Ginsburg.
You remember her?
Yeah, I did.
And the other one was Elaine Lewis.
I remember Elaine Lewis.
She actually worked at News 12.
Yes, she did.
So those are the only two female voices I ever remember. And meanwhile, we had that plethora of all kinds of male voices. But anyway, do we have the
Tom Morgan had the like had the perfect Brooklyn accent,
yeah?
especially when you off the radio when you talk to him in person. Had so many great stories about the old days, with regards to things that happened in the Weather Service office. The story I've told a number of times that he told about the fact that the all time high temperature in May for Central Park on the books is 99, but in reality it's 101. And the day it hit 101, the forecaster's original forecast was a high of 65 to 70. So when it broke 100, he went to the observer and told him that he would kill him if he put down 101, and that he was going to change him. He threatened him. He said, "You got to change it to 99, or I'll kill you." See, I
Oh,
mean, you get real drama even in the weather world.
indeed.
Oh God, hang on. I'm trying to get Scott to resend the question, and I'm checking on the board, and I don't see that he. Sometimes he'll put it on the chat board, but I don't see it. Okay, so maybe he left early.
Wait a minute. Okay,
Do
I
you
see.
see it?
I see. Scott Briller said everybody textbook at Chairman question. Everyone texts look at chairman questions.
Hmm.
And now, and now another thing from him says, Tim, JQ Anthony, can you reach Joe?
Uh.
Scott Brother then says,
Oh.
not to take
Oh.
my
Here
question.
we go. Here we go. He put it up there. Okay. Yeah. My
All right.
chat's delayed. So what happened on April 15th, 2007? It was only topped one time in 150 years in Central Park history. April 15th, 2007.
That's
It was
relatively
it was only topped once in 150 in the 150 plus years of New York City Central Park history.
I can't say snow. I don't think it was snow. Rain, maybe rain, um, an exceptional rainstorm. Oh, wait a minute. What was the date again? April
April
7th,
15th,
April
2007.
2007. Wasn't that I'm thinking of the, no, it couldn't be. The Great Nor'easter? Maybe it was. I think there was a major nor'easter around that time.
But what
Um,
was it that was only topped once?
well, maybe rain in one single day, the amount of rainfall.
So it would be the second wettest day on record in the month of April.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I'm
I
waiting for the
do
on that. Well, oh yes, that's it. That's it. That is it. On that date, 7.57 inches of rain. It's the second greatest one-day rainfall ever. And I
okay.
think the greatest one-day rainfall ever in New York City was November, I want to say November 15th or 16th, 1977. Something like that. Anyway,
Okay.
it's just I remember it was from a tropical the remnants of a tropical depression that formed off the Carolina coast. They thought it was going to become a tropical storm. It never did. And then the remnant moved the area moved northward up the east coast, and we got that I think was the greatest. And of course, for my house, it was that April. I don't know how many years ago was it now. 4 or 5 years ago, maybe a little longer. Uh, I want to say maybe April of 2013. Maybe that's when it was. Islip got that a foot of rain in 4 hours in that August morning.
I,
If you remember that,
yeah, I
if
remember that.
I remember waking up. I remember waking up to the sound of at 5 or 5:30 in the morning to the sound of what sounded like somebody with buckets of water pouring it down the side of my house. It was raining
Right.
so darn hard.
Well, Irene here, my we didn't have a rain gauge set up yet. We didn't have a weather station. So my wife had like a jug that normally would put like lemonade or, fruit juice or something like that. She put it on a table outside. We came out the next day, the jug was practically overflowing. That was like 12 inches right there. That was an amazing, tremendous amount of rain. And of course, also in Yorktown Heights, I remember during Hurricane or it wasn't a hurricane anymore, but former Hurricane Floyd, we had like amounts of 12 and 13 inches.
Really?
So you get these ridiculous amounts, especially with these tropical systems. So
Well,
was
that
that
was
2007? Was that? Didn't we have a major nor'easter that April? I know we had a
maybe
major.
we did. Maybe we did. I don't remember. I know the winter was not a good one for snow lovers. Oh 06, oh 07, and oh 07, oh 08 were back to back subnormal winters. So it's quite possible that they were wetter than normal winters. Also,
Right.
that's it.
Well, there you go.
Yep, that's it. Oh, just hang on 1 second.
Oh, oh, and Joe's changing now into
So
web.
this is the full portrait of my grandfather.
Like I said, Joe, it's a very very distinguished look,
Yeah.
uh, and definitely you could see the resemblance. I don't know why anybody doesn't say that you don't look like him because around the eyes there's such a definite you know identification here. And if you could
It's hold on a second.
only
I just realized the signature on the portrait The signature on the portrait is somebody named Victor Lee.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that's an odd that's an odd name to have for for a man who never really left Italy.
Victor Lee.
I'm gonna Google it.
It sounds more like an artist from the Far East.
Uh, Victor Lee,
Well, how
oil
many?
on canvas. Victor Lee photography in Toronto, Canada. Original oil painting up for auction, signed by Victor Lee.
Obviously, he was.
Dated 1977. Hmm. Oh, I got to check this out. I might have a Monet. In which case, it'll be worth lots. It'll be worth lots of Monet.
Oh dear me.
um. Well, there's a portrait that, I'm looking at a portrait of something that's up on eBay for auction. I got to check this out. I have to check this out.
Maybe
So,
there's another paint. Maybe there's another painting underneath that painting.
well, I'm just kind of wondering whether, I got to ask my uncle because he had the original portrait. So I don't know. Maybe he had him painted off a picture of my grandfather. That's probably what happened. But I got to find out because it is signed Victor Lee, and he does have something here on, online. So, this, like I said,
But Joe,
it could be
now,
exciting here.
now wait a minute. Now, was the painting painted when your grandfather was alive, or was it painted?
That I don't know. My uncle gave it to me.
If it was,
Um,
if Victor Lee painted that when your grandfather was alive and your grandfather passed in 1945,
Then he must have
they
painted it
must
when
have
he
been
was
off.
about that he must have painted it when he was about 3 years old.
Yes.
So we know that didn't happen. So more than likely, he must have done this with a picture that my uncle had given him or something. I got to find out. So that's my job. I got to call him back. All right. So let's call it a night. Back tomorrow.
Same bad
Bad
time,
time,
same
same bad
station.
channel. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Once again, just a reminder: if you're on if you're subscribed to my YouTube channel or to Joe Rayo's YouTube channel, Joe Rayo Weather, you are not getting notifications from YouTube. That is their doing, not mine. I actually sporadically have gotten them, but I'll get them in the middle of the night. So this all has to do with the fact that they've got everything running on automatic pilot and they have minimal staff there, so they're not able to do what they usually do. Again, if you're on Discord, you can get notifications of the live streams because I do put them up there. And let me just real quick, I'll put the Discord link up again, and it's free to join that. The chat continues uh, on um, on Discord.
Is Timothy Feldman Tree Man?
Yes, he is.
He is. Okay.
Did you sign up to
It,
Discord? Not yet.
it's, no, I have not. I have not signed on to
Oh,
just.
we have to do that.
I
So there's the Discord link, and that's it. So
tell you what. I'll tell you what. I'll make a deal with you and everybody who's watching right now.
right.
I have 697 subscribers to my YouTube channel, Joe Rayo Weather. I'm only 3 away from 700. If before midnight tonight I get set to 700, I will join Discord.
Okay.
That's all.
All right.
So all of you out there, if those of you, and many of you probably have already subscribed, but if you know somebody who hasn't subscribed yet, tell them, hey, subscribe to this channel so I can get get this guy up above 700. 1,000 isn't going to happen anytime in the immediate future, but at least get me to 700 for goodness sake.
All right. We'll see what happens.
All
All right.
right.
You heard the call. Your call to action, folks. Subscribe to Joe Rayo's YouTube channel, Joe Rayo Weather, and we will see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Good night, everybody.
Simsalabim.